This is Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff.
Let's go.
Oh, that's the level of excitement you're going to exude?
Well, remember, he did say it would come with an asterisk, so
I guess. We'll get into how the real thoughts are now that something has actually happened for Jim's Ohio State Buckeyes. Today is Wednesday, January 22nd. We're all about that football action today in both the college world, which has wrapped up its season, and discussion of the NFL Divisional Round, playoffs, as we talked about, including fan thoughts, Jim, on how an unsuccessful college football season ended up with a national championship.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about
Just feel it oozing out of your
it.
pores and your voice right now. As always, thanks to everybody that's interacting with our content on socials. Make sure you can catch us on YouTube at Sports Jim Muff on Instagram and Twitter. Sports Stuff with Jim Muff on Facebook, on the YouTubes. Subscribe, comment, rate, review, poke, like, tickle.
Get the bell on.
ding ding.
Get that bell on. And I don't know, Jim. TikTok sounds like it's here to stay.
Well, it's got a 75-day reprieve. We'll see. We'll see. Don't get all hot under the collar yet.
He's trying to
I,
stay.
I am the least hot under the collar of this, Jim. Remember, I am the only one that does not interact with
Well,
that platform
I
on this
wasn't necessarily
podcast.
speaking to you, sir.
I feel like maybe Jim's trying to temper his emotions so that way if it stays, that's great. But if it goes, he can be like, yeah, I wasn't expecting it.
I don't know. This is not a political podcast, so
Jim,
I
you were
just
the one
say,
that talks about finding things on TikTok all the time.
Muff, what I need you to do is dial down the aggression towards me from 11 to 9. Let me finish the sentence. What I'm saying is that I am not prepared at this time to go into this conversation anything more than I got a 75-day reprieve. Due to the political landscape currently, as this is not a political podcast, um, I am not prepared to say what's going to happen anywhere in the world just as of yet. That
Um,
is what my statement is on the Tiki Talk.
I think it says a lot about your friendship that you only wanted him to dial it back from an 11 to a 9.
Right.
Wasn't even attacking the political landscape. I was just curious how Jim was in the 7 hours where TikTok was not available.
You know, it was awkward waking up in the morning, taking your morning deuce, and not having Tiki Talk. But after that, it didn't phase me.
Okay.
And then it was like back. And I was like, oh, hey, TikTok.
Yeah. I heard it was gone and only realized it back when somebody shared something with me, like a link, and I was like, wait, why are you sharing this with me? I thought this was gone. They said,
I can
nope,
tell
it's
you
back.
my TikTok, the direct hit would have been had TikTok not been up during football. Like, had it not been up during the Ohio State game and after, that would have been a thing.
Okay. Then you may have some real thoughts on it not being around or being around.
Yeah.
Got it.
And again, not like I hope listeners aren't listening to us for politics, but
Well,
I
Jim,
will
no,
say
we're
what
not
I
talking
was
about politics. You are.
right. I'm trying to forewarn you, spoiler alert, I'm gonna talk about politics for a second. Did I watch the inauguration? Yes. Try to did I lean on TikTok for screen grabs of this weird troll lady behind people or how tall Trump's kid was and weird screenshots that I was hoping that I could see again? Yes, I definitely went to TikTok for that. But if TikTok's down, I don't go to Facebook videos for that kind of stuff. I go to Twitter and Twitter's ran by Elon, so you're getting a little bit of bias. You try to go to Blue Sky, which is a liberal bias. So there's no real down straight you hit you in the face non-bias way to capture a moment with a video. And Facebook is more like your grandma's TikTok, so it's behind a week. So to answer your question wholeheartedly, without TikTok, I don't know that the world has an avenue for in the moment that just happened. Let me see it again moments. That's my synopsis on TikTok.
Thank you for the political landscape discussion on
Yeah.
how you felt 7 hours without a platform.
That was my thought at the end of it. Like what does one do in that moment?
It's how the social media world, Jim.
Well, a new creature would have to give birth. It's like Hydra. Cut the head off, another one will rise.
Go ahead, Jim. You have an opportunity to get to Red Note right now. Make it happen, buddy.
I don't know that I have the capacity for another one. That's also where I'm at.
Well, that was where everybody flocked to if TikTok was going. So there's your
I don't know
option.
that I have it in
I don't
me.
know that I've ever heard of that, and I don't really know that it is. If that doesn't tell you about my old man on the porchness, I'm not sure what does.
What?
All
Get off my
right.
lawn.
We are, in addition to ending the football season, we are also ending our betting season. We've got one more left in us. We'll be coming out on Friday this week. So tune in for what we think about.
Well, we have one more official one.
Wow.
We do a
Yeah.
Super Bowl show.
We do a Super Bowl discussion. So one more legitimate betting and then all the fun Super Bowl prop bets.
Right.
So before we get into the college football championship discussion, RIP Bob Uecker.
Yeah, one of the sadder ones. Bob Uecker was always that sports slash celebrity that he always caught my interest. Even as a little kid. I was like, what is this guy?
Is that because of Major League or other?
Major League was definitely the interest at first, but I remember, and this might be past Nate and Alex, but I remember him showing up on commercials,
Hmm.
and I want to say different B movies, and maybe had an appearance on a sitcom or a Saturday Night Live kind of thing. Like he would show up in weird spots, and I'd be like, why? Who is this guy? And I had to recon it as I got older. Oh, there's legitimacy to this.
He actually does this.
Yeah, it took me a minute.
Hmm. Alex, Nate, any thoughts? Bob Uecker? Nate, maybe more so than Alex. I don't know.
No, I mean my introduction to Bob Uecker was from the Major League movies, and still, I think that's me behind the plate sometimes when I'm doing a shitty baseball game.
Nice. Alex?
Yeah, no, same.
Yeah,
Rest in peace.
I've pretty much the same context as Jim. So that's where it is for me. All
Major League
right.
movies, just side note, Major League movies of all movies were ones where my parents were like, maybe you shouldn't watch this. And I was like, maybe you should reevaluate yourselves because you guys have let me see some weird shit. And I never understood that either. Why was Major League the straw that broke the camel's back?
Because they didn't want you interested in baseball, apparently.
Yeah, you could be.
This all goes back. This is it. This is the root cause for Jim's baseball disdain.
Could be.
He was like, I want to watch this movie. This is interesting. And they said, no, no baseball for you.
That could be it.
No, they make fun of Ohio's team, damn it.
No, I don't think that was it. No. But the baseball thing, you might be onto something.
All right. Let's get into discussion of the college football playoff championship, the Capital One college football playoff with some flooring sponsorship for this game
Flooring,
and
AT&T, other weird sponsors.
start flipping coins, figure it out.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we come out to the outcome: Ohio State 34, Notre Dame 23. Jim, I give you the choice of either breaking this down in your own way, reading some of these prepared notes, and then meandering as you want to, or letting me read some and you chime in as you want.
Uh, I'll chime in as I want.
Okay. Ryan Day and the Buckeyes do get it done after going 7-0. I'm not going to say early in the game because it was a 10-minute
I was
drive,
gonna say,
Yeah.
but they do go down 7-0 after Notre Dame's first drive and then go on to score the next 31 points en route to their 11-point win. Jim, during Notre Dame's first drive that led to 5 different commercials before Ohio State probably got the ball.
And then six more after the touchdown.
Yeah. How were you feeling?
Oh, my butthole was tight. It felt like this is the national championship of all the other championship games we've played in the recent memory. And it was like, oh, we're gonna pack it in now? Like after the last three games we played, or two or three games we played, like what are we doing? Was not happy. Much displeasure.
The early game obviously was dictated by that long scoring drive, followed by Ohio State with their own, I would say, uncharacteristically long in the way of game minutes scoring drive,
For the playoffs, yeah.
as they've been more explosive, as both teams were ball control, offensive strategies. I don't know if that was the strategy coming into the game or if that's just the way it played out. Obviously, Notre Dame opened up the scoring on that first drive. Riley Leonard worked himself pretty much to being sick, a Cam Scattaboo type moment. So,
He looked like he got his ass kicked at the end. Like I don't there were two hits, three at most, where I looked over at Joe and I was like, yes, this sucks. This is super long. This will not go 4 quarters like this. That's impossible. He will die. I do remember saying that.
definitely looked like a beaten man
Yeah.
after that was done. Ohio State then responds with their own long drive, capped by a touchdown pass from Will Howard to Jeremiah Smith.
Oh, and Smith I trust. Yes. At that point, like I started gambling. I couldn't bet on players, so I just started betting on like what will Ohio State do this drive, touchdown.
Coming back to that, did you make any additional bets while you were in the state of West Virginia over the weekend?
I did not make it to the state of West Virginia. We will talk offline, but I did not make it to the state of West Virginia this weekend, unfortunately.
And then really from that point, we had all Buckeyes from there until late in the third quarter when Notre Dame did go on a little bit of a run with touchdown 2-point conversion to give some hope and put them back potentially within reach after a late touchdown 2-point conversion, only to have that outside of the plausible opportunity to win with a late Ohio State field goal to make it a two-score game. So, full disclosure, middle of the third quarter, I was out. Done. Didn't watch anything, missed Notre Dame coming back into the game. So, Jim, take us through how this felt in the second half when you had a large lead and then saw it slowly dissipate until those last couple minutes where Ohio State put it out of reach.
I'd say that first touchdown with a 2 point conversion, it was like, yeah, okay, fine. We score at will. And then we didn't, and it was like, okay. And then another touchdown, and then it was like, if we stop 2 point conversion, we're still okay. And then, uh-oh, they got another 2 point conversion. It was like, yikes. And then there was a fumble somewhere in there by Ibuka where it was started to feel like, are we gonna botch this? No, we can't botch this. And then we walked out the field goal kicker, and I don't know what like telecast people are watching. I can only watch Pat McAfee now because I can't stand Herb Street. But McAfee was like McAfee was all about Ohio State's kicker, and he has been throughout the whole playoff. So like he was hyping the guy up real hard, and like as an Ohio State fan for the last 4 years, our kickers suck. So I was like, what has he seen that I haven't seen? And then he made the kick, and I was like, all right, that's the ball game. We're good. Good shape. So yeah, I was happy. And then of course that last dart to Jeremiah Smith at the end was I don't understand Notre Dame. Like you want to play man all night? Like you know who's out there. Like why?
I think it
But
was in Ohio State's first possession. They broke it down after the fact on the main telecast that Notre Dame was only in man coverage, I think, twice in that first drive, and then I didn't hear much about it after that. So I think they were in and out a little bit. So I'm unsure. Like I would be interested to see the percentages of just straight man coverage and then some type of like camouflaged man where there was somebody over the top or there were some safeties that were able to roam a little bit. I'm just unsure of what that really looked like throughout the entire game.
I don't know why they didn't do Texas's blueprint the whole time. Maybe they didn't have the talent. Maybe that's what I kept telling myself was like, that's why they're not being Texas right now. But Texas has the formula to beat that kind of, and we won't know next year. It's all going to change, of course, but that's how you would have beat Ohio State this year.
Right. Other questions, thoughts, Alex, Nate?
I think you've got them here and coming up in the notes.
Well, I didn't know if you guys had anything or any thoughts on the game as you were watching it, hearing about it, learning about it, however you were taking it in.
No,
Uh,
I think I was the same way as Jim was watching it. It's like, okay, Ohio State's just blown the doors wide open. Like, are they really going to choke now?
Yeah. Alex, you good? Or just
well,
coloring?
I was coloring a little bit, but I was gonna say I there was a moment when Notre Dame that very first drive, I was like, oh boy. And then
Yeah.
it immediately switched. And I feel like right after like Ohio State answered quickly, I like was like, well, okay. I
Yeah.
never really felt like even when Notre Dame came back and made it respectable, I think what they showed was they had a right to be there. I think that they turned it from a oh look, we blew out Notre Dame. I think it gave them the argument, hey, we're coming back in the end. So I think that helps that conversation. But overall, I don't think there was ever a time where I didn't feel like Ohio State had it once that first drive was over.
All right. So, Jim,
Yeah.
I'm gonna break this into two questions. Who do you think is the MVP for Ohio State throughout the regular season, and who do you think is the MVP in for the Buckeyes in the college football playoff? This could be the same answer. I'm just curious if it's different from regular season to the playoffs.
It's hard, like, it's hard for me to answer this. Like, there's a caveat there. So I'm gonna go from like the non-Columbus stance, and I'm gonna say Will Howard would be the MVP for both.
Okay.
Because he was and I don't know that it can be recreated. He was the non-Ohio State guy bringing in a non-Ohio State perspective that was probably needed all year and probably got them out of their own ass, like the loss to Oregon, the loss to Michigan. Hey guys, this guy's not falling. Like I think he was the medicine for Columbus. So I would say him. Um, I would say if you listen to the radios and the talk shows and you follow all this shit, it's probably Caleb Downs. Like if you sift through it,
Hmm.
because I think it's either him or Henderson or one of the two guys that's very unsung for leadership is the one who called the meeting, the players only meeting after Michigan and was like, this does not define us. And that set them on this course. Is from what I've read, it was whoever stepped up and was like, "Yeah, no, piss on this. We're not doing this shit anymore." Would be the MVP for me.
Yeah, I would say regular season. I'm going to defer to your thoughts on that just because I wasn't watching every game. I would say the playoffs I was on the in the Will Howard camp, just because it, somebody's got to put the ball in the right spots for those
Yeah,
receivers, right? It wasn't like he was always throwing to wide open targets. He made some gritty kind of rushing first downs and kind of used his feet a little bit more in the playoff, at least from my what I've gathered throughout the entire season. It seemed like he came to play in the big moments in the college football playoff. So I think
progressed
that's
really well.
yeah.
Like his development in a year was amazing in terms of like his decision making. And I'm not trying to like be a homer this time. I don't think I've seen a quarterback. I'll go 5 years, probably 10. That when they started, you were like, oh, gonna make some hairy decisions, and at the end go, yeah, give that guy the ball. I don't care what happens.
All right. Nate, Alex, any thoughts on who you thought the MVP of the college football playoff was. We'll just go with college football playoff.
No, it has to be Will Howard. Yeah, Will Howard.
Alex?
Yeah, I think the only other argument would be like Jeremiah Smith, because did he make Will Howard look good at times? But I think overall Will Howard, he
I
managed.
would. I struggle with that too. The only thing that hurts that argument for me is the Texas game where he only had 3 catches.
Well, and there was plenty of good plays from other people on the field, but a lot of it all stemmed from Will Howard making good
Right.
choices.
And I
Right.
think the fact that he's that threat in that Texas game allowed others to play well in that Texas game, which is
Yeah.
why I struggle with that Jeremiah Smith
Yeah,
question.
but even some of your other like Ibuka, he kind of came out of his own. He
Yeah,
was good. Um, and your running backs look good. Yeah, I mean there were other players,
yeah.
but Will Howard was
Oh,
kind of
there's another one. Judkins is another one that like
yeah, Quinshad Junkins. Yeah, he
showed up very, very well in the playoffs and
yeah.
doesn't get a lot of credit there.
Well, and especially the championship.
Yeah.
All right. Big question, Jim. How, in this, your opinion, and give us the Columbus sentiment as well. And these may be one and the same. How does this national championship impact Ryan Day's coaching legacy slash future at Ohio State? And if it is a less than stellar perception, what needs to happen next year for him to reach, we'll say, not legendary status, but at least where he's accepted by the Columbus faithful? What needs to happen next year, assuming that he stays, as we all at this point, I believe, assume this will be the case.
I think he's a legend. Like that's the shittiest. Like this is so terrible, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna have to walk a fine line because I don't want to be a hypocrite. But like in Columbus, the man is a god. He brought a national title. We have forgotten about the Michigan game. He can do no wrong. Like we no, we didn't say fire him. Who said that? You know what I mean? And like, no, we did. Like there was a fan, there was a group of fans that said fire him. I was one of those fans. I'm still like very adamant that like, no, I don't like the guy. I think what he did during that Michigan game was at the end of that game was bullshit. And like, if he wasn't the coach there next year, no, I don't care. Cool. Did he win a national title? Awesome. I it's great. Cool. I'm happy and ecstatic. Did he beat Michigan? Has he beaten in the last 4 years? Nope. You know what I mean? I'm gonna hold strong to that. Did he win the national title? Yes, he did. That's great. We're 9-time national champions now. I'm proud of the Bucs. They played great. I think he handled the playoffs really well. I like the way he defers to the players, gives them all the props. I think he genuinely cares about their development as players and men. I don't think Urban Meyer did that. I don't think Urban Meyer did that at all. I don't think Tressel did that, and that's probably blasphemy. But I think he is a player's coach. I don't know that allowing his players to act like that at the end of the game was a good look for that Michigan game.
Okay. So is it for you, is there anything that can be done by Ryan Day to redeem himself next year or in future years of your current opinion, or is this will always be a stain on his coaching record to you?
Now, this is where I will be a hypocrite. This is where my dad, he was like, "You're one of them." He beats Michigan next year. I'm fine. I'm happy as a motherfucker.
No matter what else happens.
Yep, all will be forgiven for me, and I will own the hypocrite thing right there. If he beats Michigan next year, I'm fine.
1-11, you're okay.
I'm fine. Like to me, it's redemption.
What have you done for me lately?
I,
Well,
but see, I'm not like that because I don't like the national title. I'm not, but the Michigan win is something that I want bad.
okay. And we've talked about this before, but just to put it in perspective for any new listeners, we'll just say Ryan Day continues to be the coach for the next 4 years, 4 wins against Michigan. We'll say eight, 7, 8, 9 win seasons, make the playoffs. One out of those 4 years is he's still your coach at that point.
And he's beat Michigan all 4 years,
Yeah.
and he's got the national title already.
Yeah, this last one.
Oh fuck yeah, Muff. That's not even. Sold.
I want to fast forward 5 years. If this happens, let's just confirm that Jim still feels this way.
Sold. He has the natty. I mean, I waited 10 for this one. If he beats Michigan 4 times in a row, yeah. Yeah. I'm that guy.
Hey, as long as you're consistent, which you have been thus far.
That rivalry means a ton in my world.
All right. So looking ahead, now that we've reached the other side, which many speculate that both of those teams, Notre Dame and High State last night, especially the coaching staffs, the head coaches in particular, pretty much get 30 to 45 minutes to revel in this, and then they're on the line to recruits.
Oh, yeah.
What do you believe, Jim, is the position or positions most in need of, I'm not even going to say development now, we can say acquisition for Ohio State to compete once again for a national championship next year?
I don't know. Man, that's an honest. The portal, like people are already moving around. The portal is crazy. If you want like my strict, like what do I think needs developed? The quarterback position. Like we have Sayan, we have this St. Clair kid, both relatively unknown. They're they're blue blood, like they're amazing if you look at what they say on paper. Yes, we got a nice running back room. Jeremiah Smith's back, but like waiting for that portal to shake out before I can give you a decent answer on that one, bud.
I feel
So
like many of us are in that boat right now.
so give me quarterback development for 1,000, Alex.
Got it. Speaking of, Alex, Nate, any questions for Jim? Thoughts on the college football playoff as a whole, the national championship game? And we're going to get to some post-game discussion here in a second, but anything about the game or Ohio State itself?
Jim, how excited were you when you finally saw a hold?
I was pumped. That was huge.
That
I
may have
was
been
saying,
the weakest hold compared to some of the other ones that could have been called throughout the year, though,
man, and
in
through
my
the rest of the
opinion.
night. I said to Joe, I said, we haven't seen one of those since we were at a game, the Marshall game, babe. She's like, no. I was like, I swear. That's a holiday. That's rare. It's crazy to be with that long.
Other questions, thoughts, Alex?
Uh, no. Congratulations, Jim.
Thanks, man. I
That's really
guess, like,
all
yay.
I really got. Next year's Rich Rod's here.
You'll get one.
Next year is
Just
the year of the rod.
now, I do have like one comment that like I this shit about you have to spend $20 million to win a national championship. Like Notre Dame outspent Ohio State in NIL money. Just Oregon outspent Ohio State in NIL money. If you don't like the NIL situation, write your congressman. And that's been a stance on this show for at least 2 years.
Go back to 4 years.
So like if NIL money upsets you, it's not anybody's fault, but the NCAA and Congress. Handle your business.
Keep
That's
saying
all.
April, we may get some more clarity on this. So it is going to be a ruling. It's in the court systems. So
If
in some
Donald Trump came out and said, I write an executive order that limits NIL money, I'd be like,
somebody did it.
awesome,
Somebody did it.
awesome.
Somebody took a stand.
I hate it. I hate that whole bullshit excuse. Because right now, like, put the shoe on the other foot. Rich Rod finds a donor, and he gets 40 million in NIL money, and they win the Natty. Like, they won like you still have to play the game. Damn it!
No, I
Like,
get it. I didn't say a word.
This is Jim
Twitter
responding
does.
to Twitter. This is Jim responding to
Twitter,
Twitter.
yeah,
Directly responding to his Twitter algorithm.
pisses me off so bad. That's all I
All
got,
right,
Muff.
let's get into some post game. I suspect we've all seen the golf cart situation to this point.
That poor girl.
That's hilarious.
Those who are unaware, this was coming, I think, from the locker room, bringing Ryan Day. Will Howard, and I don't know all the players that were on one of the, we'll say the limo golf cart.
Well, Jack
Uh,
Sawyer was on there. I
was
saw
he?
that.
Okay. Um, and unfortunately, the young lady could not negotiate the turn properly and ran the front right of that golf court directly into a tunnel wall, the wall closest to Ryan Day, who was in the passenger seat, and he looked the most perturbed out of the whole
It
situation.
was funny because like the players were laughing and like it's all right, it's all right. And he just looked pissed off.
Well, like I think his foot damn near got clipped. Uh, Will Howard said on McAfee that like he thinks that Day might have hurt his neck a little bit,
Oh my gosh.
and like
It's a golf cart into a
well,
wall.
like I think his head was kind of like looking the other way. This is what Will Howard said. He said the girl was a beast on the field. Like she was bobbing and weaving, yelling at people to get out of the way. And then when she got in there, everybody's head was down or turned a different way, and she looked straight at that wall and pumped the gas. And like bam. And I think the awkwardness of everybody looking in different directions like messed people up. And
Oh
then
my
she was like, "All right, guys, come help me get the cart." And everybody was like, "We're gonna walk."
Look, she just lost a dare. She heard it was the Harry Potter wall.
I guess.
She uh she had one of the more, I would say, nonchalant responses. She kind of like giggled and was like, "Oh, sorry." And meanwhile, you got the Ryan Day like face of
mean
just like,
mugging you.
and then you have the players kind of like laughing about it because they're like, "Wow, whatever. We just won a national championship. We're about to get
Yep.
drunk and have a good time."
Meanwhile, she's got the earpiece in and it's a practical joker, so you won't run into that wall.
That would I would love for that to come out.
Yeah, it was bad.
That was
Lou Holtz on the other side of it. That's what that
Yeah.
caption said or whatever. Lou Holtz paid this driver.
uh that's good. That's good. Jim, any other reason from what you've said in the past, aside from what you've said in the past, as to why you were not on the Herb Street situation for the championship game, or is this just continuing?
I can't stand listening to him. Like I don't know what it is about him. And he made a comment at the end because you do have to switch over to the traditional if you want to
Hmm.
hear the commentary, like the post game shit. Um, he made a comment about like how he tries really hard to be unbiased and it comes off super hard. And like he was crying, I guess.
Did
And he
you, here's the question, do you know all of the reasons why that motion came out?
I know he's got a player on the team.
Correct. So this was his season. This is what he broke down as to why the emotion came out in that time. So you may have cut the back end of it. So, one, yes, he has a son on the team who had some health incident that would not allow him to play
Yeah.
football anymore.
Yep.
Like we knew that already. We've talked about that because they had that end of the season like gathering with the team.
Right.
And he said for him, Ryan Day was like, "No, you're going to continue to be a part of this team. Like we want you here." So like for Herb Street, it was like this is kind of vindicated for Ryan Day and for what he did to stick up for his son and keep him around, blah blah blah. So like that was step one. Step two is, and this was, I think, the lesser of everything, but you had his dog dying, right? So that happened throughout the football season. But about the same time that was all going on, his wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. So he had all of this happening throughout this football season, adding on to all of the, uh, we'll say, the Columbus Ohio State fans who were just bagging on him all season for some of this, and he just kind of like had this outpouring of emotion, like this is great for my son. This has been a tough season. Thanks to everybody for sticking by me. So I
And the
think you
icing
saw
on
the,
the cake is the other son committed to Michigan.
which is where all the vitriol came in on the other side. So I think you saw the back end of that, but like he kind
Yeah.
of put it into full perspective as to why this season was trying for him and what was going on behind the scenes.
I don't know. Regardless of all that, like I can't watch his commentary because sometimes I feel like he overcompensates to try to be unbiased. It's like
Hmm.
Herbie, like be like AJ Hawk.
Yeah. And my goal there wasn't for you to feel differently about him. It was
I
that
don't.
that was the context of what he was talking about at the end of that game.
I wasn't making fun of his emotionalness.
Yeah.
I still couldn't stand to listen to him. Like
Right.
Herbie, You're an Ohio guy, man, and like you piss off the fan base sometimes. It feels like you're doing it on purpose.
There it is.
So
All right. Any other post-game thoughts? College football playoff thoughts? College football thoughts?
they're reevaluating the rules, or they're not ruling out that they could reevaluate the rules, but it's the NCAA, so I'm not holding my breath.
What do you
Yeah.
mean rules?
These the college
The
football playoff?
reseeding, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I suspect that something's going to change. I don't know what. I think there's
I,
probably two or three things on the table, and I think they're going to pick one of them.
I don't think last night helped the playoffs. I Ohio State, Texas, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Notre Dame. Like I think when you have games like that, then you have Ohio State, Notre Dame. Kind of like I want to see what the ratings are for all of the games, and I'll be like, well, the argument for reseeding is there.
Indeed, it is. Final thoughts, Alex, Nate.
I'm
Too
trying.
many days until football.
Moving on to August, Alex, to get to WVU
Amen.
games.
Yes, I'm trying not to cry because it's over, but smile because it happened.
Right. So let's get into our winners and losers of the final week of college football. Jim, your choice first or last?
I'll go first.
How about it?
Winners, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Losers, Lou Holtz.
Which Lou Holtz? Legitimate Lou Holtz or Ty Lou Holtz?
All of them.
Jim, did you see the clip where they brought Ty Lue Holtz into that interview
Yeah, that
with
was stupid.
I think that was like a real moment of people. Like,
Yeah.
like I think that's what that was. That was like Ryan Day, like, oh, really, guys? Come on.
Then he looks over
You're gonna
at
do this right
Marcus
now.
Freeman. He looks over at Marcus Freeman because these guys always do this. They always try to get me.
So I appreciated the fact that it was like a moment of levity in everything that was going on,
Yeah.
but probably an overused shtick at this point. Nate,
My winners are Will Howard's draft stock, with honorable mention to Chip Kelly for finally getting his championship after losing to Auburn.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then loser Shane Gillis.
winner Shane
Yeah.
Gillis for that commercial though.
Yes.
Everybody saw this.
Mm-hmm.
Jim,
I
This
did
is
not.
under everyone.
this is the praying one in the church.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, loser Shane Gillis because Notre Dame lost. Winner Shane Gillis because he had that Under Armour commercial.
That's fair.
Uh, Alex,
I will say winner is Will Howard going from a 0 against Oregon to the hero throughout the playoffs. I think it was a big turnaround for him to be like at his lowest. I mean, that's pretty low as you can go, to coming back and ending up on top. And loser, the golf cart driver.
indeed. My winner, just because I'm going to be a little contrarian here, is still Notre Dame. Because let's not forget that they get the $20 million payday because they don't belong to a conference in which they have to share that money.
Yeah.
So even without the natty, they still get the big old payday. Losers, anybody who was inebriated at that stadium that wanted food because, and this is not just for this game, but in that stadium, the food prices are incredibly affordable. Like everything's under $5. So just think if you had the run of all of the football game food at your fingertips for less than $5 and you were a little juiced up, next day's probably not going to be good for the old toilet.
I
So
would have came back with so much snacks.
a point that I want to talk about now that I was surprised that nobody brought up Marcus Freeman. Are we going to talk about the experience level needed to be in the playoffs or in
Of
a
coach player.
of coaches? Do we think that played a factor for big games? And you say that they aren't in a conference so they get all that money, but like I look at James Franklin, who has played some big games, and it in my opinion it helped. I look at like Ryan Day, I look at Dabo, I look at even Sark. Like those guys have played in major games. Like Marcus Freeman when he went for the field goal and it doinked. There was like, why did you do that, bud? I didn't feel like any of those games I watched earlier in the playoffs, there was decision making like that. Because it felt like those guys had been in big games.
Well, and I'm gonna botch this graphic that I saw that had to do with coaches in year three. And there were a large number of coaches in year three at their programs, including Brian Kelly. I think Brian Kelly was the only one not in year three of the ones that were put on this graphic. And this one, it's going to piss me off. I don't remember all the names that did not win the national championship that they got to, right? I want to say Urban Meyer was a name on that. Marcus Freeman, obviously, not another one that did not win a national championship. Brian Kelly was on there in year three.
Ryan
Um,
Day.
did he win in year three?
No, it took him 6 years.
No, but it was year three. These were like all
I
coaches in
think
year
you
three.
went
So
to the game.
it was like year three was like a key year for a lot of coaches that have made this kind of rise within the coaching ranks. That they built up their program and they got to that spot. So I think there's something for especially these first time head coaches. It takes like 2 or 3 years, and I think it says a lot about Notre Dame and being willing to stick with this through thick and thin at this point.
No,
Because
yeah, I agree with that.
let's not
I
forget
guess
what happened with Northern Illinois earlier in the year.
no, absolutely. I guess my point is like we talk about NIL and getting the right players and stuff, but like is should there be more emphasis when we have coaching openings? That's a weird way to say that. But like you need a guy who's been there or been on a staff that's been there.
Can we come up with collectively in major college programs coaching hires over the past 5-ish years that have not looked for that or didn't find that? Like that's what I'm thinking through like now. Like obviously Alex, you have the WVU situation with Neil Brown.
Uh,
Yes.
Oklahoma's
Oklahoma brought somebody from Clemson staff.
Brent Venables.
Right.
Yeah, he.
yeah, he's
And
been there.
experienced success.
USC, he's been
Like
there.
he's been in the mix.
What's his face?
Lincoln Riley.
Yeah,
Has
at
he been
Oklahoma.
there?
At
Yeah, he was
Oklahoma.
at Oklahoma.
Yeah,
Kyler
yeah,
Murray.
yeah,
Lane Kiffin's been there with Alabama. Like even if you
yeah,
take everything else away, he was there with
yeah,
Alabama. Bill O'Brien went to Boston College, had been at Alabama and done like
yeah,
that whole shtick. You can even say Brian Kelly has been in big games. Went to is at LSU.
yeah.
So I guess I'm trying to think of any major coaching hires that have not been from like either had that experience as a head coach or had the pedigree on a staff. Like I just can't think of any.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's fair.
they exist, 100%. They exist. Arizona State's head coach. There's one. Dillingham. Where did he come from?
I
That's
have
the
no
one. Like in
idea.
my mind,
Yeah,
I
like
can't think of
where
what
was
his
Dan
history.
Lanning before Oregon?
He was at Georgia.
Uh,
Yeah, Dillingham. I doesn't. I'm not. What's his first name?
It's Kenny.
Kenny.
AD.
I like him so much.
He's like a less disciplined Marcus Freeman.
That's why I like him.
He's like Lane Kiffin, but without
He was at
the need to have
Oregon.
20-year-olds around
One
him.
more on the side of Marcus Freeman.
No, he was at Oregon in 22 as the offensive coordinator under Dan Lanning, and they didn't make it to the show then.
Yeah, but still, at least at a major college program. Um,
But I'm saying like they have to be, well, Rich James Franklin would be well, he was in the semis, right?
Yeah, before he's with Penn State, he was with Vandy.
yeah, but they made me remember they made a run, which is how he got the
Right.
platform to get to Penn State.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they were competitive year over year, but he at least had he was in some big games when he was at Vanderbilt, which is what helped catapult him. Um, so he may not have had the pedigree at a major college program, but he experienced success. So
It was interesting.
that's all. I just don't know. I don't know if we're going to see much of that anymore because of what it takes to run a run a college program now. Like we got Bill Belichick as far as we're looking at college success, right?
Well, then look at Florida State. Mike Norvell, he ain't got nothing. Mario
Where'd Norvell
Cristobal,
come from?
hold on.
Well, Cristobal, he's made the rounds. He was at Penn State, the defensive coordinator, before he went back to head coach because he was at Miami before,
Yeah.
correct?
Norvell,
Cristobal was at Oregon, but then he went to Miami.
And then to Penn State, and then to Duke.
but when he was at Penn
The guy
State,
at Duke, you're thinking Muff is Manny Diaz.
Ask me ideas. Sorry. Yeah,
I think you conflated the two.
I did.
Norvell was just at Memphis, Arizona State, Pitt, Tulsa. Like those aren't.
He bounced.
So there's one. Let's go to Cristobal.
I know Cristobal was the head coach at Oregon before he left for Miami. Or he was the offensive line coach or something at Oregon and went to Miami.
I mean, he coached under Nick for a little bit.
You'll say he has a bit of a pedigree.
But even then, there's not like that big
Where's Kirby before he went to Georgia?
Alabama.
Bama.
That's right.
I think if you look at these coaches, they're not. Look at Dion. There's another one.
I wasn't going to bring him up, but you're right.
Signetti. I mean, he got his feet wet this year, but like,
Signetti has the pedigree of being a winner at all levels. He just has never been in a major college program. Like there's the difference. And let's be honest, in hindsight, their season doesn't look that terrible now, does it?
yeah, no, you're not
Their
wrong.
only two losses were to the two teams in the championship game.
You got Fickle. There's another one.
He was at Cincinnati and had success. He is in the playoffs.
That's true. And I guess he was at Ohio State when
Right.
Tressel won.
So I think it'll be interesting. I agree to see what these next few years of the college football playoff look like and where the successes are. I will say I was listening to Nick Saban. It was an interview on McAfee either late last week or early this week, one of the two. And the discussion was you have to have experienced it to know what not to do, like for the players
Right,
and for the
right.
program. Like he's like, I'm not gonna say I was ever perfect, like, but as I learned what not to do, we got better at what we did.
And I would think like you now have to do this 4 times. If you don't get that by,
Hmm.
you gotta do it 4 times to repeat that process 4 times in different places. You know that different places are gonna have different like obligations and to have your team ready. That's just a mindset that's totally different than the season.
Hmm.
And you gotta coach to that. That's insane to me.
Gonna be different. Before we get out of the college football world, one thing that I found, just want to get everybody's take on this because this could be something that comes down for next year or years to come. And there was a discussion at the AFCA convention to find a way or to consider a way to slow players of faking or embellishing injuries on the field, including discussions that any injured player would be sidelined for the rest of the current drive. And to reinstate the player, the drive would either have to end or the coach would have to use a timeout.
That's an interesting concept.
I'm
They,
for it.
they will never do that.
I was curious where Nate was uh, initially, and you said you're for this, Nate, because have
Yeah, I
you
mean, I don't.
experienced this at all?
Not in the high school game, I don't.
Mhm.
But for as often as we see it in big games where a guy goes down and you see like, oh, I'm hurt. Then he's back the next play. Like if anything, I think it ought to be like you have the independent consultant in the NFL where hey, it looks like you may have sustained a head injury. We're going to go give you a test in the tent. Or maybe even something like that. Oh, if you're going to go down injured,
You have to be cleared.
you need to go to the tent and be cleared by an independent whoever, not just a team doctor. Here, take a swig of water. You're fine.
I think that that's a whole different topic too. I think that test in the tent thing is we need to go back and evaluate that shit.
Is it really happening? Is that what
No,
you're
I don't know if that's happening.
saying?
What happens in the blue tent stays in the blue tent.
That's what I think's going on.
I don't disagree because we have collectively, I think, seen enough situations where somebody comes out and it's like, what did they ask you? Did they ask you what color the tent you're in is, or did they actually give you a true consultation here?
I mean, I know that this is an Ohio State heavy show right this second, but like you can't tell me the Will Howard in the playoffs was the same Will Howard in that Michigan game. Like you just can't. Like he something happened to his noggin. And like, oh yeah, go back out there, Will. Here's your helmet. No.
So it's not right to blame Will Howard for that loss.
I'm not blaming anybody but Ryan Day, but
Oh,
like I think Will Howard was concussed.
all right. All right. Anything before we put college football to bed for today?
I just don't want to let it go.
It's okay.
Let it
The recruiting
go. Let it
situation is
go.
gone. The ongoing, Jim. The portal is open. Remember this.
You're right.
All right. Into the NFL with the divisional playoff round, starting with Saturday football that had the Chiefs taking on the Texans. The Chiefs are victorious 23 to 14 as the Texans become the first team in NFL postseason history to outgain their opponent by 100 plus yards, have zero turnovers, and lose. Prior to this, teams were 49 and 0 in such games. Jim, initial thoughts on your Texans and their loss to the Chiefs.
The Swifties should be happy. That's about all I got, man. I don't want to get canceled or whatever it's called when my shit gets limited. I'm not going against the Illuminati.
What do we call that, Alex, when your shit gets limited? Low block,
Constipation.
constipated. Is that what you're talking about, Jim?
Yeah, I don't want constipated by the Swifties.
There was much discussion in this game about penalties called in which Patrick Mahomes was involved. We had his potentially phantom late hit when he slid and the Texans players hit each other, and more so than they hit Mahomes, and there was a penalty, roughing the passer. I don't believe there was a penalty called on his LeBron flop. Am I correct on that?
No, there was not. And that's
Oh,
another
yeah.
thing I wish they would do is have a freaking embellishment foul in the pros.
Oh, that'd be cool. I wish I did it in college too.
We had other controversial non-calls, including a potential hold on Mahomes' third down scramble. I think I saw this one, and it was, I would say, the least egregious of all the things that I saw. A clear Chiefs offside on a Texans field goal attempt. A potential hip drop tackle on the Texans' Dalton Schultz that was not called. But in all fairness, have we seen any flags on hip drop tackles
Not
this
that I can
season?
recall.
I think they're adjudicating that post game with fines. I don't think they're throwing flags in game. There was also a bad spot on a play that should have resulted in a Texans first down, only for the next play for an illegal motion to be called on the Texans to create a 3rd and 6 as opposed to a 3rd and inches or 1. So the Chiefs is still the Chiefs, and they get the win and move on to the AFC Championship game.
Chiefs
Jim,
plus
how was
officials.
your? Go ahead, Alex.
I just was saying Chiefs plus officials.
Jim, what is your rating and your thoughts on your first season as a Texans fan?
It was cool. I thought I would see less games. Honestly, I thought, wow, this is where it's going to hurt. But no, I saw plenty of games. Big fan of CJ Stroud, as you would figure. But I think the injuries hurt the season in the long run.
Yeah, especially at the wide receiver position.
Yeah.
Other thoughts on that game, Alex Nate?
I just would love to see the Chiefs lose at this point.
Wouldn't we all?
It's just, I mean, if it honestly, I don't have anything against most of their players. Like if it had nothing to do with the fact that they're just getting egregiously terrible calls that go in their favor, it would be like whatever. They're cool. I like Andy Reid. I like Travis Kelsey. I'm not a huge Patrick Mahomes fan just because there is a lot of flopping and stuff that kind of makes you like he's great. Don't get me wrong, but like the flopping attitude is kind of meh. But it's just I can't stand watching them be the beneficiary of such bad calls.
Saturday night football, we had the Commanders
Bum,
Bum
bum,
ba dum bum bum bum
bum,
bum.
bum.
taking on Dem Lions, and the Commanders in a shootout come out on top 45-31. Jaden Daniels, even if he's not voted this, he is the rookie of the year. Just further proof he's made all the big plays in all the key situations, bringing the Commanders to the NFC Championship game, taking out the number one seed in the divisional round. Initial thoughts, Alex, on the Lions going down.
I mean, the Commanders just didn't mess up. I mean, the Chiefs had mess ups and the Commanders didn't, and I think they both teams outside of that played well. It was a fun shootout. It was a fun game to watch, but at the end of the day, Chiefs played or Commanders played a cleaner game and deserved that win. And I'll be rooting for them in their next game.
All right. Jim is another Lions follower.
I was shocked by the upset. I think that the injuries probably finally caught up to them too, but like I was real still I'm upset by it. Like, I'll probably stop watching the NFL. I have no reason to watch any of these other teams. Zero. The
Nate
Bills, I
found,
guess.
yeah, I think that's just an interesting matchup. The Bills and the Chiefs, which we'll get to. Nate found this nugget with the win. Every NF with the Commanders win, every NFC team other than the Cowboys will have played in a conference championship since the 1996 season.
That makes me smile.
Any
Thank you,
consolation?
Chester.
That was a Shefty bomb.
Yep.
Yeah, I think in this one, I think we finally saw the Lions' defensive injuries catch up. Yeah, they got Anzalone back, they had Terry and Arnold back, but they were still down and not in a great spot as far as their defense. And they just finally came up against an offense that was hot that day and could do what they had to do. Um, one question that I think is going to be asked in the offseason is Jared Goff has been paid, but he is now no longer with his offensive coordinator, and we'll get to Ben Johnson and his departure for head coaching job. Without Ben Johnson, do we think Jared Goff will continue to be able to prove he's worth the money that he was paid?
Well, now it's going to be time for Goff to put up or shut up.
Indeed. What do we think that MCDC and the Detroit Lions need in order to keep this competitive streak going and get over the top? What is needed in Detroit, Nate?
What is needed in Detroit is a new team doctor, a new strength and conditioning coach, clean drinking water, uh, protein powder, and all the other stuff that Aaron Rodgers takes to keep them healthy. I don't know.
Butt crystals.
I was wondering who's going to be the first to say that. You or Jim? Uh,
Butt crystals.
Alex, what do you need to continue to be fan of the Detroit Lions?
I'll continue to be a fan. They didn't put me off at all in that aspect. But they just need to get healthy again. You need your defense back. I mean, their offense is good. I think they'll be good without Ben Johnson. I'm not taking credit away from Ben Johnson. I'm just saying I do think that they have the ability to stay strong on offense, but they have to have their defense back.
Jim, thoughts?
I have none.
Okay. Moving into Sunday football as the Eagles beat the Rams in Philadelphia in the snow 20-22. Saquon Barkley goes off again for the Eagles against the Ram with over 200 yards rushing, including big time touchdown runs of 62 and 78 yards. I saw a stat that the total yards. This would be from a non-quarterback, I believe. That Saquon Barkley had with 2 games in the Rams is the most of any one player against a team, including playoffs in NFL history. He has like 508 yards
They do
in those
not have
two
a
games.
recipe to stop him.
They,
Sorry, Giants fans.
yeah,
Snoquan.
yeah. Snow Quad or Snow Quan.
They were calling him Snoquan Barkley.
Yeah. So Eagles come away with the victory. Um, Rams, I mean, stay competitive in this one, but ultimately they do fall short. They had a lot of the categories locked up. They led in total yards, significantly led in passing yards. They sacked Jalen Hurts 7 times, but the Rams did lose 2 key fumbles that helped the Eagles get ahead and stay ahead in this one. Matthew Stafford had a good day numbers wise. Helped keep the Rams in the hunt, I think, throughout the season, especially when Puka Nacua went down. What do we think the future of the Rams is in the next 2 to 3 years?
If they can keep that nucleus together for another year or two, maybe they can make another run. But I didn't. I think I remember seeing something about Cooper Cup's questionable about staying there long term with his deal and everything
Well,
like
that
that.
probably has to do with the Puka Nakua. I mean, he used to be the guy, and now
Mhm. Yeah, but if you take away Cooper Cup from that offense, and I just don't know if there's going to be enough there to kind of draw the defense away from Puka Nakua. Like you have to have that number 2 receiver, and I think if they were to lose that, then I think that you could see the Rams take a step back.
I agree.
I'm in that camp. I'm interested to see who they choose to retain
Mm-hmm.
in this current squad, especially in the skill positions. So, Jim,
And they
thoughts?
snuck up there too.
Yeah, they kind of hung around all season. I think they were a team that just kind of limped through the regular season, got into the playoffs, um, and found a way to make a bit of a run, a little bit of a run. So, Jim, any thoughts? Eagles, Rams.
Nope, no thoughts.
All right,
Told you I give up.
Bills take down the Ravens in Buffalo, 27 to 25. Josh Allen and the Bills do get it done in their home stadium, forced key turnovers, and they capitalized when it was needed. Lamar Jackson throws an interception, loses a fumble, and poor Mark Andrews,
Dude, he kind
typically
of
Mr.
shat the bed.
Reliable, lost a fumble, bobbled that late 2-point conversion opportunity that would have tied the game, and it was very reminiscent from I don't know how many years ago when he did something very similar in a key moment in the playoffs for the Ravens.
He's only had like that's only like his second fumble of his career too. They were saying he just chokes under pressure. Can't
Doesn't
stand the heat. Get out of the kitchen, Mark Andrews.
even though the voting has already happened at this point, would this game have swayed or made anybody think differently about the MVP conversation if you were on Lamar? Would you switch to Josh Allen, or would you just feel it is what it is at this point?
I think if you were close between the two, like if your thoughts were kind of torn between which one you wanted to pick, I could see where this game would have swayed some people. But I think if you were firmly in the Lamar Jackson camp, you probably stayed there.
I mean, he did have some turnovers, but ultimately he's the one that gets them in a lot of these positions. I did see, and Nate, what are your thoughts on this? That Derrick Henry had success, and they kind of looked like they got away from him later in the game.
I can't remember who said it during the game or after the game, but it reminded them of not giving the ball to Marshawn Lynch at the Super Bowl.
Yes.
It's like it's like stick with what got you there. It's like why do you outcoach yourself and get away from your whole team's identity when the game's on the line?
Definitely a thought. So obviously we have the Bills and the Chiefs down the AFC Championship game. It's going to be an all-time matchup. We'll see if it lives up to the billing. But back to Baltimore. What else can Baltimore do at this point to get over the hump in the AFC? They have top-tier quarterback. They have Derrick Henry this year. Their running game was on fire. They had, for the most part, good weapons, and their defense played well, especially towards like the latter half of the season. Does Baltimore just need to get good luck at this point?
That, and I think they need to start looking at getting some more younger guys on defense. You look at guys like Cal Illinois had another great year, but he's getting up towards his mid-30s. How many more good years does Marlon Humphrey have?
Nate's keen on the defensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Defense wins championships.
Indeed. Jim, still nothing?
I have nothing.
All right. Our conference championship matchups in the NFL, both games on Sunday. First, we have the Commanders at the Eagles at 3 o'clock. What are our initial thoughts on this game? Playing in Philadelphia. I believe the temperature will be around freezing. I don't know about the snow forecast, though.
I think that does not that leans towards Eagles for me because I think that will the if it has to go to the air, I think Jaden Daniels between his legs and his passing weapons is going to be the better option. But if it has to be more of a kind of ground and pound tough game because of weather conditions, I think that bodes better for the Eagles.
I mean, 30 degrees is like a warm front right now, Alex.
Yeah, that's true right
And
now.
I'm curious too,
I
how
imagine
healthy
that.
is Jalen Hurts going to be?
That's true. There's a lot of thoughts there, and he didn't like he only had like I think he had less than 100 yards passing
Well,
in
after
that.
he like came up after twisting his knee, even like on bootlegs and nakeds, he just looked like he's still running really gingerly. And any sort of like joint injury like that, Alex, I mean, I'm not the medical degenerate, but it's not going to warm up in the cold.
Yeah, no, I mean it's and it can they can linger, it seems like, even if it is like a sprain. Like think about spraining your ankle, it's just like takes a while before you can really take off on it again. So it'll be interesting, but I mean I want to see the Commanders win this. Obviously, I think that's a fun storyline. And I actually think that more than just a fun storyline, they have potential to do that.
According to the Weather Channel, Muff, the high in Philly on Sunday is 44.
Oh,
Okay, even warmer than I thought it was going to be.
oh, if it's gonna be 44, give me the Commanders.
Right. Yeah, I do think that that does favor the Commanders matchup as long as there's not a lot of wind, right? Wind can put this in a different situation, a different light, but I think temperature is definitely advantage Commanders.
The two words for that game that's going to define that game: Scary Terry.
I was just gonna say Scary Terry.
I could also say Jalen Hurts based on the health that's going in there. So
Which one looks
I
like
think
Scary
it's going
Terry?
to be a fun game. I really do. And we get to the 6:30 game with the Bills traveling to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs.
Game of the year.
Prime
I
time
mean,
slot, game of the year.
I'm pumped that we have two games I'm excited about. I can't say good games haven't been played yet, but two games I'm excited about. Usually, I feel like there's one that you're like, meh, whatever. But I'm excited about both of these.
I'm just excited that it's not an 8 o'clock game and I can stay up and watch all of it.
That's true.
It does help a lot, I think, in the overall. I imagine that's probably going to be end up being like a 6:45, 6:50 kick, but it's not 8:30.
Well,
Right.
and
I
it's
just
just
hate
it.
having to wait till 3 o'clock for the first game, but whatever.
Well, and it's cool because I feel like you have the underdog, the kind of like Cinderella-ish story to root for in the Commanders, and then you have a really like storied kind of rivalry between Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes. I just think you have two good games, two things to be excited for.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's storylines,
Yes.
Go ahead, Jim. Put your tinfoil hat on.
scripted storylines. Hmm.
There can be pregame narratives, Jim.
First
It
of
does
all,
not mean
no,
that they don't be, doesn't mean they're scripted.
if the Rams would have come back and won, and I mean this with zero disrespect because I feel very compassionate about the people with the wildfires. But if they would have come back, I would have had very much like New Orleans after the flood vibes. I'm like, okay, so now if there's a natural disaster, you win the Super Bowl. I'm just saying that would have been a sketchy storyline. If you get the freaking Commanders versus the LA Rams, and the Bills Chiefs, that would have been too strong of two storylines for me.
Can't make it too obvious.
Exactly. You got to pick one or the other.
Jim, what are your thoughts?
It's all rigged.
Well, if it's rigged, Jim, just tell us what's going to happen.
Yeah, tell us the story, Jim.
I'm not in on it. I'm
Come on,
just
you,
saying
Oh, so
it's
because
you
I know
just
you're a good
so you could
storyteller.
develop the narrative after the fact. See, this is the conspiracy theorists do. It's rigged, and I'll tell you why it's rigged after it happens.
saying it's rigged.
It's like these games are rigged. Come back Monday, and I'll tell you why.
Don't worry, Jim. We're 5 years away from college football being the same then.
I hope so.
What?
How are you ever going to love football again if you think both of them are rigged?
Well, in 10 more years,
That's like WWE, and I mean,
I'll have another natty and it's fine. In 10 more years, WVU and Penn State will be without a natty.
Until Alex walks over to the beer cooler, pulls out a natty.
exactly.
He only drinks boosh.
All right, let's get into some other NFL. Let's look at the head coaching openings, unless something has happened. We only have two of these openings filled thus far. We have Vrabel in New England, which is unchanged from last week. And just in the past 24-ish hours, we've had Ben Johnson, Detroit's offensive coordinator, heading to Chicago to coach the Bears. How do we feel about Ben Johnson to Chicago? Nate.
What the hell is up with all these coaches leaving for division rivals?
And why would you go to Chicago?
If looking at the list of availabilities here,
Yeah.
that other than Dallas, I would say that might be the one with the most potential upside down the line. I mean, you got Caleb Williams on a rookie deal. You got Keenan Allen over there now. You got DJ Moore. You got DeAndre Swift. So you got the weapons on offense. You've got cap space. So the opportunities are there. Jacksonville, I think, needs a lot. Vegas is a dumpster fire. New Orleans is negative 50 million in the cap. Dallas, you have to deal with Jerry. And the Jets are the Jets.
All right.
That's
Let's move
another you have
on.
to deal with the ownership standpoint as well with the Jets
Can we
and
move
being in the New
on?
York media.
Because that was great. I don't need to say anything else. That was beautiful. Well
Other
done, Nate.
other names that we have out there to fill some of these other coaching vacancies include Aaron Glenn, Detroit's defensive coordinator, who just finished up an interview with the Jets. Kellen Moore, Eagles offensive coordinator, who I believe has said he's not going to take any interviews until after the Eagles are eliminated. We have Joe Brady, Bills offensive coordinator, who I have not seen interview yet, but is definitely a name in the mix. Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken, Mike McCarthy.
Who's
This
going to
was
hire that fat fuck?
Probably no one.
He's getting interviews, Jim. He's getting interviews.
For what? He's going to Pittsburgh to be a defensive coordinator?
I mean, he would be an
That's the only thing
offensive
I've
coordinator.
seen.
He would be an offensive coordinator, if anything. He would replace Arthur Smith.
All I saw was a coordinator. That's all I saw.
Yeah, probably be offensive if anything. He's going to end up somewhere, I believe. I just don't know where. Nate, this was of interest. I was doing a little recon, and the Bucks offensive coordinator popped up. Do you think he's going to land somewhere?
From what I'm seeing, his name is coming up quite a lot in Jacksonville land.
Okay, that was unexpected for me when I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, he really doesn't have a lot of years under his belt as far as being an OC. I know he's with Baker in LA, and now he came to Tampa Bay, and that offense just took another step forward and finally been able to run the ball, which is something they haven't done in the last decade. But I think that would be a little bit of a reach. I would want to see more consistency over the span of a couple more years before I bite the bullet and make him head coach.
Other names, whether or not these are really names in the mix or not, Pete Carroll, Ron Rivera, Deion Sanders.
Who was I saw too? Cowboys completed an interview with was it Leslie Frazier?
Was it Frazier or was it Zimmer?
No, I thought it was Frazier.
Okay. That may be the case. I didn't see that. So I think there have been, I mean, the Jets are throwing everything against the wall. If we just start naming names, the Jets have probably interviewed him at this point.
They're like, well, it can't get much worse, so let's just start seeing what's up.
Well, and don't forget Robert Sala still floating around out there.
That's
If I
true. Robert
want to.
Saleh is a name on the board. So we'll see. I have a feeling we're gonna see some things ramp up in the next week or two. So about to get taken care of. Other news in the NFL: Deshaun Watson tore his Achilles again, everybody.
I think someone has a hit out on him.
And there's a lot of discussion about what could be happening in the weeks to come, including that Watson was seen in social media posts without his boot prior to the team finding out about this injury. And some speculate this could be grounds to void that huge ass contract that he is guaranteed at this point.
They're trying.
They're going to try real hard. And they should be trying real hard given just the absolute dumpster fire they put themselves in with that contract.
I feel like someone tricked him. Like, go ahead, buddy. It's safe. You can walk around
He was
without
standing next to
your
a
on top.
woman. He was standing next to a woman
Was
behind
it a
his
massage
car.
therapist?
Maybe. I just know that it wasn't a trick. He was an idiot.
Yeah. I saw this I don't know what it was, a TikTok or whatever, but I saw it and I wasn't
You
thinking
didn't see
anything
no
of it.
TikTok. Don't lie. If you did see a TikTok, you aren't allowed to give me shit for anything.
Jim, just
Was it
so we're
real?
clear, we do know that these things cross over. People
You told me they
download
don't cross over.
people download TikTok videos and put them on other social media.
Yeah, I don't think so, Muff. I don't think you saw it on TikTok or you've lied.
See, I see a lot of TikTok videos on Reels.
See?
I don't believe you, Alex.
Okay, that's fine.
Doesn't believe either of us, Alex.
That's fine.
Speak our
No,
truth.
oh,
It's not
hard
Jim's
for the
truth, it's our
hard for
truth.
the course. I don't get excited about it anymore.
All right. We have NFL new international location as we have a game in Spain, specifically in Madrid next year. I believe the Dolphins are the only team that's been announced. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So I put this in, I think, one of our group chats to think about what we would do as far as ranking these international locations. Let's just say if you were going to travel to one of these to spectate, which would you rather go to? A game in London town, one of the locations in Germany, or Spain? Alex, what would be your ranks one, two, three?
Probably Germany because I think they have the best beer. And then London, and then Spain.
Nate,
I would go to Spain first, and then Germany, and then London.
Jim,
London first. Then I really don't care.
Seems to be the theme of the episode after college football.
we had all this great discussion with Jim, and then he just
I feel like Jim just
fell over.
realized the season's over and now he's depressed. Like I feel like we watched it happen real time.
This is true,
I
Jim.
just don't like. So here's my thing, and I'll bring Joe up here if you want me to. I have this thing about like not being able to understand, and then them not being able to understand me, and then I end up like going to the crapper, and it's not really the crapper. It's a whole thing. So like the translator issue bothers me. So like at least London, I'll know where the crapper is. So yeah, London, and then I really don't care.
As long as you
What if
know
we all
what.
chipped in and got you Duolingo?
Ooh, did you say Dua Lipa?
Yeah. Oh, her.
So let's court him around.
I'm down.
We'll give Jim Duolingo, and he can be escorted by Dua Lipa.
I'm down for like as long as I know that I know I'm going in the right direction. I'll go to any of them because I want to go to Europe. But like
You know that the loo is the toilet, but you were unsure of what to call the toilet in these other places.
right.
The baño. One of them's the baño.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
it's
Spanish.
You say may permite ir al baño.
I'll just say Bagno.
Okay.
Where's
Bathroom,
Baño!
bathroom, bathroom. And I'm the uncultured one.
Well, then he'll be going around going baño y cerveza, baño y cerveza.
Yeah, I'm good.
Exactly. We know all the important words. We can go.
done and done. I would go to Germany first. I think just that atmosphere seems cool thus far.
And you
Uh,
like German beer.
I
You
mean,
like that heavy, dark beer shit.
I enjoy beer.
Yeah.
And I would enjoy that. Then I'd go to Spain just because it just seems like, I don't know. I feel like going to London to me, it just seems dreary. It's like I should go to Seattle and
Wrong.
get this London atmosphere.
That's probably a fair take.
So I'd go to Spain just for that reason. Um, yeah. All right. Brings us into other interesting news in sports.
Interesting news in sports.
And there is some interesting things here. First off, in the MLB Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame is going to be welcoming Ichiro, Captain Crunch Sabathia, and Billy Wagner into the Hall of Fame as these players received the requisite votes to make the jump into the Hall of Fame. Ichiro was one vote shy of becoming only the second player ever to be a unanimous decision. Who in the hell is the one person that said, nah, not
Um,
Ichiro?
Someone who wants us to say his name, we won't do it.
I believe,
He
Nate, do
was
they disclose who votes the votes in the MLB?
I think so. At some point, they do. I just saw where it was like 396 out of 397 votes were yes.
Somebody's going to have a
who
lot of
was
heat coming
who
down
was the
on
other
them.
who was the other player? Do
That
we
did get it.
Yeah.
Mariano Rivera was the only unanimous.
Okay.
So, yeah, good for them. You got, a position player, a starting pitcher, and a reliever. So, I feel like they hit the marks on this one. So from Hall of Fame to the Wall of Shame, as the Pirates, yes, we're going all the way to the bottom of the barrel here. The Pirates held their fan fest last Saturday, and it was an absolute disaster as there were sell the team chants, expired sodas, misspelled players' names, and fans already speculating what's going to be happening with Paul Skeens in the coming years. The fans in attendance didn't wait to start the sell the team chants as they let it go during the very first question in FanFest, where a fan straight up asked Pirates president Travis Williams if the team is serious about winning. They went straight for the jugular, and Williams gave the Dipsy Doo DC dance response. And that's whenever the sell the team chants started, and Greg Brown, announcer, had to try to calm the crowd down and tell them to be respectful.
You be respectful of our time, love, and energy. How about that?
Alex, how quickly would you join in on the sell the team chants if you were
Literally
there?
immediately. I might start. I
You might start
don't
them.
think I'd start it actually, but I would definitely finish it.
As the Q&A continued, a fan asked if the team can find a way to extend Paul Skeens and O'Neill Cruz now instead of waiting to trade them for hot garbage like we always do, as it was quoted. Um, Pretty much, this
What
just
was the
turned in,
answer?
huh?
Did we get a good answer?
I don't think there was any answer
Resolution.
worth putting into play. I didn't see anything about the response.
Yeah, that says a
Um,
lot. That says a lot right there.
yeah, so I don't know what Pirates management expects giving fans an open Q&A mic in this situation and not going just absolutely terribly. Alex,
Yep.
did you have any other questions? What's a question you would ask? Alex, Nate.
How's the ski lodge?
What are you gonna do with Ogilvy?
Yeah. That you're
Keep
not really, you don't really actually care about baseball, so I'll ask you about the things you actually care
about your
about.
business interests.
Yeah. What's your motive for not selling the team?
There we go. Also, there was a picture of Mountain Dew that was 2.5 weeks past its due date, and Andrew McCutcheon's name was misspelled on his name tag for the player meet and greet session.
Of all players. Like as though he hasn't been in a million of these things now.
But on a bright note, the prized Paul Skeen playing card has been found by an 11-year-old, and they are going to get more in cash, prizes, season tickets, and experiences than the organization is willing to offer free agents in the offseason. Way to go, 11-year-old. I think it's like 35 years of season tickets.
Yeah, take one
Uh,
for the team and let him use it for a contract for Paul Skeens.
Donate this back. Donate it back to the team conditionally.
Look,
Yes.
it's an 11-year-old kid. Look, you don't want all those season tickets. That's money. We'll just give you all the popcorn and soda you want when you come to the games. Heck, even come to Dollar Dog Night. We might run out of buns again.
Uh, I
Just a dumpster fire.
this is this is we talk about like the Jets being the Jets and other teams being other teams that just consistently just are terrible. The Pirates is the Pirates, but I don't even think they can say that because it's just beyond your imagination of what the Pirates can do to continue to make this awful.
It's just one of those things. It's like, nah, that can't happen.
Yeah, it cannot.
I
I
just feel
also
like every
saw
year they're like, hold my beer.
that's that is exactly it, Alex. Nate, you would be one that would probably see this if it came up in your algorithm. Did you see it was like the 4 or 5 year comparison of Pirates Brian Giles versus Juan Soto?
Yeah, and how Brian Giles basically has every stat that's better than Juan Soto in those 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, Pirates had him at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't do anything. All right, Nate, give us some hockey news because we had some fantastic hockey situation for the Penguins after they got rid of Tristan Jarry.
Yeah, so they sent their starting goalie to the minors again, and the very first game that he's gone, the backup goalie Alex Nedeljkovic becomes the first goalie in NHL history to have a goal and an assist in a game. All he
First,
needed was the damn fight to get the Gordie Howe. Probably would have been the first goalie to have a Gordie Howe.
first game, correct? That was his first game.
First game since Jory went back to the minors.
Yeah. I actually watched the goalie goal. I was like, good for you, buddy.
I just like the clip that they showed of Crosby looking back at him like, dude, you just did that.
He's
And it's
like,
the second Penguins goalie goal in 2 years because Jari had one last year.
Yeah, I think it was on Instagram or something, and there was like a compilation of all of the goalie goals in NHL history. It
Yeah,
was
there's
pretty
only
crazy.
like less than 2 dozen of them, I think.
Yeah, I think it was like between 15 and 20. But I forget what the number was, but it was pretty cool to see that like going backwards. So good for Alex Nedeljkovic. Yeah, I think what you said, Nate, was better than what I
Jokic.
said.
Yeah.
I think what Nate said was better. Alex, WU, men's basketball.
Takes down number 2, Iowa State. Big win. We actually have 3 top 10 wins this season now. We're rolling.
Yeah, they're having a little bit of a hangover right now live.
They've been doing that. And with we are currently down to unranked Arizona State by 1 point. That about to be halftime. I I'm happy with the way the season's going right now because, the whole new coach, new system, whatever, but it seems like there's some positive energy generated around the basketball program. He seems to have a good kind of rep with the guys. The guys seem to want to be there, want to play hard. So we can have fun season at least.
All right.
We
I think I
deserve it
just
after
saw
that
I
football
think I
shit
just saw
show.
the first mock-up of the tournament field, and WU was a 5 seed, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, no joke. They have 3 top 10 wins, and basketball, weighs heavily on those things. So
Indeed. And lastly, in the tennis world, the Australian Open is happening. I don't even, it may be done at this point. Who the hell knows? Haven't kept up with it, but I did see that the Australian Open, when it was broadcast on YouTube, had to replace the players' images with Nintendo Wii Sports tennis characters to get around media rights issues. I feel like I didn't watch this, but I watched a short clip, and I feel like I would watch a whole lot more tennis if that's how I got to watch it. What's
Especially
your
if they had like the Wii Sports announcer.
Yes. We do it for bowling. What other sports
Mhm.
did we sport? What other?
you have to jump into the spin thing.
And you're not like 15 love.
Let's just replace it. Let's do
Deuce.
this. Let's make it AI generated. Be done.
Speaking of that, I actually just watched a little bit of that Tiger Golf League this afternoon or this
What's some
evening.
TGL?
Yeah, it was on the Espen.
What'd you think?
It was all right. I had a hard time kind of getting into it, but it was interesting just to kind of see how it works. And there were some entertaining conversations and stuff.
All right. Anything else in the sports world? Now that Jim is totally cashed out, now that his football season has ended.
Look at this bracket. First off, Ohio State men's team, which is apparently all Columbus cares about, sucks. But the girls team's 17-1. Like, didn't even talk about it. They'll be like the 3 seed in their region.
It would be, yeah, if they're a 3 seed, it would be in their region. So they'd be a top 12 team, but a 3 seed in their region.
We don't need to talk about that, Columbus. It's cool.
Jim, you just got off of a national championship. What do you expect?
That Muff, you're not in town, buddy. You're not in town. We were talking about basketball right after the Michigan game and during the first playoff game about how bad they suck. So like why
About
let's
how bad
go
the men's team was?
yeah.
Yeah.
So why not focus on like something that is going well?
Well, wrestling's going well.
Well, I don't bring up wrestling on this show because I don't have a leg to stand on with you.
Comparatively, no, but I mean the Big Ten is the Big Ten in wrestling, and
Yeah.
it's very competitive, so it is what it is. All right, that brings us to the end of this week's episode of Sports Stuff with Jim and Muff. Remember to get us on the socials, subscribe, comment, rate, review, pick, like, tickle.
Get the bell on.
Ding ding.
Get the bell on. And after you do that, make sure that you share something at somebody, hashtag SSJM, do all the things, and make sure that you tell a friend, make a friend, be
Be a
a
friend.
friend.